Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on my channel, and today we're talking 90 Day Fiance The Single Life, Season 4, Episode 9, starting with John. The episode starts off with John meeting up with his brother Patrick and Thais to hopefully squash the beef after Patrick and Thais completely threw John under the bus last episode. If you recall, John was excited to introduce his new girlfriend and partner Megan, whom he might move to Texas with, to his family, Patrick and Thais.
We finally get to meet Megan today, and we're excited to figure out what the hell's going on.
And we all know John by now. You know, he's not the most responsible person in the world, and he's not necessarily great at relationships, and he's a guy's guy. You know, he's gonna do his own thing. You know what I'm saying? But unlike my terrible Boston accents, John actually has a desire to get better at this and wants to change his life around. Although he hasn't historically been the relationship type and isn't known to go above and beyond to take on a lot of responsibility, since meeting his long-distance girlfriend and single mother Megan, John seems to have had a bit of a change of heart. John, now 39 years old, seems to really like Megan and wants to make a concerted effort to really try to make this relationship work, despite the long distance. And because John really values family, and because the show needs more content, John brought Megan over to his hometown of Vegas to introduce her to Patrick and Thais. And I was excited to see where that would go. You know, we've seen Patrick and Thais before, we know they don't have the best opinion of John from previous seasons, but I was interested to see that, yes, although we, the audience, have seen John try to develop and take on more responsibility, Patrick and Thais obviously know him much better. So I was curious to see how much they were buying into this whole thing. Is John really a changed man? Is he really just caught up in all things? I wanted to know what they had to say. But even then, I wasn't expecting them to completely throw John under the bus.
Everything John's been telling me, it doesn't seem like this relationship makes any sense.
Patrick and Thais just shrugged at each other and like, oh yeah, it's good to meet you, Megan. Weird that you're dating John, you know, this total dirtbag bum guy who doesn't do anything. You have a kid? You know you're gonna have a second child if you date this loser. This guy doesn't have a responsibility or care in his life. You're dating that guy as a single mother? Are you sure that's a good idea, Megan?
John's not really the responsible type.
John is like a child. You have two child for sure.
And John tried to interrupt, like, okay, guys, haha, you know, you made your point, you know, very funny. I'm kind of a slob, like, I get it. Now, can we be a little serious here? You know, this is a serious relationship.
Enough.
Enough for what?
Enough. The barraging, the questions, and
then they just go, nah, you know, John, you're always like this. You know, you don't even want a kid. You know, what are you doing in this relationship?
And I want to make sure you know what you're getting yourself into.
Of course I do.
And because of that meeting, Megan's whole trip to Vegas was completely ruined. Megan came over to Vegas to continue learning about John and test the waters and see if this relationship was really the one, that if John was really going to be the guy to step in and be a stepfather to her daughter. And then she hears from his family that he's a deadbeat loser and this doesn't make any sense.
It's kind of scary. I ain't gonna lie, but I can do it. Like that. I don't know what's so funny.
So yeah, that's going to throw a wrench into some things.
I don't need a man-child, like I have my daughter. You know, this relationship to continue in general, I'm still taking it in.
Megan got all worried and started thinking that maybe this relationship isn't the best fit, maybe John's not ready yet, this isn't the right guy, and flies back home.
But now I can feel her pulling away from me, and I'm worried I might lose her.
That brings us to the episode we're talking about today, where John is dealing with the emotional fallout and the damage that this whole conversation did to the relationship.
The last time I was hanging out with Pat and Thais, I was with Megan, and obviously things were said, and it pissed Megan off enough to question our relationship, so things are a little tense.
Apparently Megan has been not talking to him a lot, so there's been some distance, and he knows that she's trying to work through things, so he's giving her space, and he's not really sure where the relationship even is right now. Given how much damage Patrick and Thais may have done to this relationship that John says is really important to him, I'm a little surprised by how cool, calm, and collected John is going into this meeting with these people that may have effed over his relationship. Patrick asks John, hey, how did the trip go? Did Megan enjoy her time here in Vegas?
Did Megan actually enjoy being in Vegas?
And John, directly but quite politely, says, yeah, you know, it didn't go the best. Didn't go that well. And you know, it actually was going just fine until you kind of said all that stuff.
I mean, honestly, till you said what you said to Megan, everything was fine.
Which you'd think might make Patrick feel a little bad about what he said. Or maybe he stands by what he said, but still might feel a little bad that this may have damaged his relationship or hurt John's feelings or anything like that. But Patrick responds by that, by looking away and not giving John a whole lot of attention while he says it, and says, you know, maybe you think maybe she's just upset with the truth?
If she's upset right now and it's like things that are truthful, like, does that mean the like relationship's gonna work?
Yeah, I know you don't really like it, but you're not a very responsible guy. So if she doesn't like that we told her that you're irresponsible, I mean, maybe that's just the way it is. You're irresponsible, and that's that. And in Patrick's defense, I do see where he's coming from. I can understand that if Patrick really, truly in his heart does not believe John has changed at all and really thinks he's an irresponsible dirtbag, then I could understand why he feels so justified in just throwing that information out there and just, well, if people don't like the truth. I mean, that's what it is. It's not my problem. That's your problem. So I get what he's getting at there, but I think if I was in that position, if I was the Patrick in that scenario, I just feel like there's a little bit of a nicer way to say it. Maybe in, hey, I'm sorry that caused threw a wrench into your relationship. That wasn't my intention. But, kids and such, it's just such a big responsibility. And, I don't want you to get over your head. I don't want her to get over your head. And I ultimately was just looking out for both you and her and wanting the best. So some kind of compassion. But maybe that's just me. I didn't grow up on the East Coast. I don't have a cool, tough Boston accents like they do. So maybe I'm being a little pansy about it in their eyes.
I'm trying to make sure you don't drown. You don't get in over your head.
I knew how to swim that pool. I knew how to
the person that you're with.
And they're talking about how irresponsible John is and how he's believed his whole life that he never wants to have a kid. And John adamantly defends that no, it's not that I didn't want a kid. I just don't want a baby. Which, although sounded like not a big deal at the time, I think is a big deal, and we'll get to that later. But the discussion/fight continues. Patrick continues to not really give John any ground on these matters and continues to say, you don't know what you're talking about. This isn't real for you. I'm not buying any of this. And despite all the opposition, John stays true to his word. Says, no, I'm going to make this work. This is real for me. I don't care what you guys say. I'm going to make this work.
You don't even know if you're still going to make it work.
I'm going to make it work. You know what?
Yeah, but what about her?
Sure, it will work.
Patrick's like, nah, you're not going to make this work. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to move over to Texas to be with her? That plot point that they've been setting up this entire season? You're not going to do that.
You're not going to do something crazy and like move there.
And John stoically turns to him and says, yeah, I'm doing it.
I'm probably moving there. It's probably happening, bro.
And then Thais gets involved and asks John, how do you even know that you like this person well enough to move together? Which is a fair question, but not a question that I think has a real answer. I don't know what John could say right now that would convince either Patrick or Thais that he definitely likes her enough. You just gotta go off how you feel. And that's essentially what John tells them. It says, I know it's only been 6 or 7 months, but you just gotta go off how you feel, and I really care about her. It's like you two. It's not about the time, whatever, it's just how you feel. And then Thais did not like that.
Because it's how you feel with each other, right? Just like Pat wants you, right?
Oh my God.
It's just
Thais hears that answer, which I thought was just fine, but she's rolling her eyes like, oh my God, it's not like us. Me and Patrick, we have a real thing.
It's the same
Me and
thing,
Pat
though.
is together like
You
3
are
years.
together, but
and you
it's the
6
same
months.
John, quit your kidding around. We have an actual relationship and we're like responsible adults, and come on, that's not the same thing. But even to that, John stands tall and says, you know what, whatever you guys say, I'm gonna follow my heart on this one. I'm going to San Antonio, I'm gonna be with her. That's what my heart says, and I'm going for it.
When it comes down to it, I'm in love with this woman, right? I don't care what you say. And, I'm gonna follow my heart.
Which was pretty sweet to hear, but in a way that I think summarizes Patrick and Thais's entire approach to this whole John thing. Patrick leaves his final words of advice for his brother John and says, I don't really know what following your heart means, but I hope you think about it.
I don't know what that means, but I hope you really think about it.
Oh, and then John calls up Megan and tells her, yeah, I love you. I'm gonna move to San Antonio with you. And it's a cute, happy moment. I gotta say, after seeing that whole conversation with John and Patrick and Thais, and from watching their conversations on previous episodes, I'm left conflicted. Because on the one hand, from John's perspective, yes, even though he might have a history of being a certain way, whether that's irresponsible or he has problems with XYZ, immature, whether you're John or anyone else dealing with any other problem, you kind of need to have an opportunity to change and grow and to shed your reputation and leave behind who the person you were before. Everyone deserves an opportunity to grow up and mature, and whether that happens at 20 or 30 or 50. For John, he's 39. Yes, he's had this history of being wishy-washy with girls and not liking responsibility, but if he has met his person and he really loves her and he says that he wants to change everything and become a stepdad, then I think that's great. And who are we to get in the way of that or say that he can't do it? And while that coming of age growth mentality can apply to just about everyone and everything, it's also incredibly common with guys who are essentially man children, guys who grow up who are afraid of commitments and relationships. And yeah, I'm not going to do that, and I'm going to be a man's man, and I'm going to be a bachelor for my whole life. That's an incredibly common thing for guys to just kick the can down the road of maturing. And at least from my observation, it seems like the majority of the time that those cases end up changing and they grow up and they figure shit out and they end up being family men, oftentimes it's finding the right partner for them. It's growing up, having been there, done that, and then you meet somebody who does kind of have their life together and you go, oh, well, I guess I don't have my life together. I guess I don't have any responsibilities in life. And if I want to be with someone who I really want to be with, maybe that means I need to clean up my act. And if that is what's happening for John, then it would be great if his family or friends could get behind him and say, wow, wow, John, you're finally doing it. Hey man, real relationships are great. And I'm just so proud of you for finally taking on the responsibility. And Megan, she seems like a great gal. And I hope you're ready for all that. And I hope you're ready for the kid. But this is what life is all about, and we're here to cheer you on. And if you ever need help, you need some advice, you can hit me up, let me know. And we're rooting for the best for you. That kind of thing. John might be at the beginning of a great journey and transformation for himself. And in those times especially, it's wonderful and very beneficial to have a support network to rely on that is rooting you on and encouraging you and telling you to get after it. But we don't know John like Patrick and Thais does. Sure, it may look to me like they should have or could have been more supportive or encouraging for John, but then it made me think, what if this was the 10th time John has done this? What if John had a pattern of suddenly realizing for some reason that he's got to get together and be more responsible and do these things, but then never ends up doing them? You ever have those nights where you get a sudden huge amount of inspiration to change your life around and do a 180 and get back in the gym and do all these healthy things at like 2 a.m.? You're not going to turn around your whole life and go to the gym and all that tonight. You'll start tomorrow, and then you never do. That's fine and normal, but if every time you had those epiphanies at 2 a.m., you then texted all of your friends that you're going to do all those things, and then you don't do them, if that was the case, then we could hardly blame your friends for once you come around and say you're going to do another big life-changing thing, we could understand why they'd be like, yeah, okay, John, yep, You haven't had a serious relationship in forever, and you've told me your whole life that you never want to have kids and you never want to do these things, and then you meet some girl that you've known for 6 months, and now you're going to change your entire life to go do that? It's like, yeah, okay, John. And I think the reason I'm conflicted essentially boils down to how much skepticism of John right now is really justified. Does John have a history of saying he's going to turn his life around and then not doing it? Or is there something else that Patrick and Thais know about John to make them really, really certain that there's no way this is a real possibility for him? Or is this just John's time to really embrace the change and grow into the person that he wants to become and be a new man? And of course, there's going to be some skepticism in that because it's some kind of change. And Patrick and Thais interprets that little bit of skepticism and just go, no, this is ridiculous. This doesn't make any sense. That there's no way you're going to do it. Is that what's going on? And lastly, when I was thinking again that John did agree that he's going to move to San Antonio and be with his partner after 6 or 7 months, although as a person, I'm on the more optimistic side and wish that this is just a good first step into this new venture of his life, I did kind of wonder maybe one of his motivations might be some kind of competitiveness in the family or a desire on John's part to prove Patrick and Thais wrong. I don't know, of course, but even going back to when we first were introduced to Patrick and Thais, here's this couple, she flies over, they get married, they're having a baby, they seemed kind of maybe super rich. And then you have older brother John sleeping on the couch and not really having a lot of aspirations relatively, not really doing a lot with his life. And then he sees his younger brother, now they're pregnant, now they're having a baby. He might see all that settling down and maybe he could feel some kind of pressure of, oh, I need to figure this out in life. I gotta get after it, which that could be fine. That could be a healthy motivation to figure things out. But there could also be a sort of, well, if he can do it, I can do it too. I can do it too. It's my, I gotta stop with this fake accent. I just met this girl. I really like her. Yeah, it's only been 6 or 7 months, and my whole family keeps telling me that that this is not real, that I'm full of crap, and that I don't know what I'm doing. I'll show them that this is real. I want to prove to them I'm capable. I'm an adult too. They need to respect me. I can have a good relationship. I'll show them I'm gonna move to San Antonio, and this is gonna work out. Again, I don't know, but maybe even if just 10% in there as a little bit of a motivation, I could understand someone in his position feeling that way. Or this whole thing is made up just for show and none of this is real. I don't know. Anyway, let me know what you thought about John and his situation in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. And if you enjoyed this video and you enjoy my content, make sure to hit subscribe, hit the like button, hit the join button, ring the bell for notifications, and every comment helps the algorithm. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.